Johnny Moore was on with us on Friday, and we were talking about the Christians that are being persecuted over in the Middle East and trying to get them here to the United States. And I suggested that we raise $1 million. And Johnny is on the phone with us now. Johnny, we have raised $1 million. So our first 40 families, you can start looking for the first 40 families that we can move in either other countries, or I prefer this country myself. And get them to safety. And today I've asked that if we could, I'd like to raise $2 million. Since we raised $1 million over the weekend, let's see if we can raise another $1 million here in the next couple of weeks and see if we can get 80 families here in the United States. Welcome to the program, Johnny.
Thanks, Glenn. Good to be with you. And I tell you, I could not be more excited about the response of people around this country and around the world. I mean, this is the moment. And, those 40 or 80 or who knows how many families we'll save. In a generation or two, we will have saved thousands and thousands of people. We could actually, while we're talking right now, be a part of preserving the very foundation of Christianity. There would be no Christianity in the West if it wasn't for Christians in the East. We would have no church history if it wasn't for their church history. And so we've got to keep it up. We've got to respond more forcefully, more quickly. We need to do a lot. We can save as many people as our compassion will allow us to save.
This is it's very much like Schindler's List. I mean, this is a modern day Schindler's List.
Yeah, and people think Oscar Schindler saved thousands and thousands and thousands of people. He saved 1,200 people. That's who he saved. And there are people that right now that are listening to us talk that if they are very, very serious about it, they could take personal responsibility for saving hundreds of people. But again, we've got to move quickly. I think it's really telling, Glenn, that this morning I was looking at my cell phone and I had this notification from a major news outlet. And the notification was about ISIS, destroying the ancient temple in Palmyra. One other example of them destroying ancient history. But I didn't get a notification last week when ISIS destroyed a 5th century church between Palmyra and Damascus. Not a ruined, ancient temple that nobody has used for thousands of years, but a church that was active. People were worshiping in that church until just a few weeks ago when ISIS took over. This is an emergency that's happening as we speak. People are risking on the edge of their lives as we speak right now, and we just have to respond. We have to help these people the way we hope someone would help us.
There was a story, I just read it to Pat, and I can't find it right now, but there was a story about that Palmyra church that I just read, and I read the caption underneath the photo, and the whole story was about how this Palmyra church has been destroyed, blah blah blah, and it said they've blown up this ancient temple, and then they blew up this ancient temple, but there's no photographs of this. But it was after ISIS took charge of Palmyra, and they've been destroying these ancient ruins. There were 3 mentions in this caption of the photo of a temple. There were 3 mentions of the destruction of ancient temples. The last line was, this happened after they beheaded the head of antiquities in the area and hung his headless body from a pole in the main square.
Yeah, this shows the mess that we're in. The world values buildings over lives. Today, right? The stock market, is continuing to tumble down. Rest assured, the United States of government and governments around the world will respond far more forcefully, far more seriously, far more decisively about trying to protect our financial system and protecting all these lives around the world. And there are thousands and thousands of lives. A good friend of mine, I was just talking to him the other day. He was at 2 miles from ISIS not long ago in Mosul, and he was at a Christian village that was on the edge of death. They sensed it was coming any day. And this dad tried to give his little baby to my friend because he just wanted his child to live another day. He would rather never see his child again, just to know that the child could be taken to the United States of America and be safe. And the fact is, Glenn, when I've gone over there, everyone I've talked to, everyone I know that has gone over there or talked to anybody tells me the same thing. These Christians and Yazidis and other people that are in such difficult trouble, they all say the same word. They all say they feel forgotten. And what we're trying to do this week and trying to do around the world, trying to do right now, is make sure that they're not forgotten, that can never be said again by anyone over there.
You heard some information from the State Department this weekend. Apparently, the State Department was getting a little pressure from some of our listeners after Friday's broadcast.
It was interesting. Our conversation about them not letting people in the United States of America was heard, and someone sent me a list that came indirectly from them of the amount of Christians that they have taken in the last 19 months. It was a few thousand people that they've taken in, but what they failed to note is that there are at least 120,000 in Iraq alone that are living in ramshackle conditions that barely got away from their lives from places like Mosul and Karakosh. And by the way, on that list they sent me, it also included who they had taken in from other countries, from other religious and ethnic groups. And there were over three times as many Muslims the United States had taken in the same period. And even more shocking to me, I almost didn't believe it, was that the United States of America has only taken in 291 Yazidis. So the Yazidis are in even worse condition than the Christians. They're the only group in the world that's hated more than the Christians. These are people that one day ISIS kidnapped, enslaved with the intent of selling 5,000 Yazidi women one day, which by the way, I didn't get a notification about that either from a news network. And yet the United States of America has only provided safe haven for a couple hundred of them. So our country is better than this, and we have to do more.